Welcome back to our Be Prepared Emergency Preparedness Safety First video series. This is our fourth and final installment. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the disasters that might strike in the area and how you can be a little better prepared to handle those things. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. Thanks for joining me. Like I said, today we're going to talk a little bit about disasters and what can happen around the state of New Mexico. Now, of course, disasters can be a natural thing or a man-made thing, however it comes about. Our highlighted publications for this month come in very handy for these types of things. We have these emergency preparedness. One is on evacuation and one is on sheltering at home, either of which can become an issue if you are dealing with a disaster in your area. So that's an important thing to remember. Find out what kind of disasters can happen in your area or have happened in the past. So for instance, I'm not overly concerned with how to respond to a volcano, but if I lived in other places around the country, I might be. So consider where you live, what your disasters might be. Even across the state, we see varying different types of disasters that happen. A resource we do have available for you through the Curry County Extension Office. Again, you can always call our office. You can stop by and pick one up or give us a request and we'd be happy to mail it out to you. This is Always Expect the Unexpected, How to Be Prepared for a Range of Different Disasters. This comes from our Southwest Border Food Safety and Defense Center. And these different little tabs all relate to a different type of disaster. So for instance, if we scroll, there is one for volcanoes or landslides, food protection, tornadoes, extreme heat, which is definitely something that we have to deal with a lot across the state of New Mexico. So you pick the tab you want, flip to that page, and you can see there will be a list of different types of instructions for you to follow, things for you to think about in that system. What we've picked for you today are some of the things that are very common, particularly in Curry County. May not happen every year, but definitely something that could happen for you to think about. Again, these are in our newsletter, Family and Consumer Science newsletter through our office. If you do not receive that newsletter and would like to, our website is curryextension.nmsu.edu. Click on that, go to Family Health and Wellness, and then click on Request Newsletter. And you can choose to receive that as an email, or we will mail you a hard copy to your mailbox. All of the information we've presented in this four-part series is included in that newsletter for you in writing. So again, today I'm taking some information from some other of my colleagues around the state who've put together programs and trainings related to these specific things. And I appreciate all of their work and effort into doing this so that we have this then to share with you. So let's start off. One of the things that's going to be very important in any type of disaster is, first of all, knowing how do you get notified if there is a disaster in your area. So the things that you need to think about is, of course, emergency radio, TV broadcasts that may come across. You get that nice little beeping sound that tells you, hey, there's an emergency going on somewhere, you need to pay attention. So do pay attention to those things. Your community may have sirens. They may have people who go door to door and warn you when there's a problem. One of the things you can do here in Curry County for Clovis and the Curry County surrounding area, if you go on to oem.cityofclovis.org, there's a place there where you can sign up to receive email and text alerts whenever there is any type of disaster or emergency in our area. And then also weather.gov. You can click on that and then click on New Mexico and pick your area, and it will tell you what kind of weather patterns to expect, what you should be seeing, and that actually is the National Weather Service. So it's a pretty reliable source, and you can feel pretty good about the information that you're getting there. So what happens if one of these things does come about? So let's talk first with one that is pretty common that I think we've all been through, and that's what do you do in the event of a power outage? Okay, power outage, again, it can be as a result of one of these other things, or it can just be a man-made, something happens, something goes wrong, and now you have no power. And maybe you have no power for several days. So how do you address that? So let's start off with turn off your electronics. Unplug your TVs, your computers, things that might get a surge when the power comes back on. So we need to be definitely prepared for that. And then leave a light on somewhere that when the power does come back on, you'll know, hey, the power's on, because there's that light that we had turned on in that area. Pull out that emergency disaster supply kit that we talked about earlier in the series. Have your stuff ready and available so that you can get to it, maybe even get to it in the dark. Pull out that flashlight and be prepared. Because if sometimes the power goes out in the day, we think, oh, it'll come back on. We don't worry about any of those things. And then suddenly it's night and now I can't see to find my candles or my flashlights or whatever it is that I need to help me in that situation. Now, always remember in a power outage, eat your perishable foods first. Anything that will go bad, because we don't always know how long that outage may last. So eat your perishable foods first, then go ahead and start taking things out of your freezer, out of your refrigerator. We don't want to open those any more than we have to, because we want to make sure that they stay cold as long as possible without power. But if we've lost power long enough that they're not going to stay cold, we definitely want to use up whatever's in there. And then finally, your canned or packaged foods, those non-perishable items that last longer, you want to save those till last so that you make sure you have something available and on hand. And like I said, we want to avoid opening the refrigerator and the freezer as long as we possibly can till we have a better idea how long we may be without power. Secure candles, make sure you have those things available. And remember, if you have a generator that you want to use to run something, run heat, maybe it's run a light, whatever that happens to be, the generator needs to be set up outside. That's a basic safety thing that they will tell you whenever you run a generator, make sure that it is set up outside. Okay, so power outages, very common, something that we deal with a lot. I'm going to quickly run through a few of the other things that might come about and create an issue. Particularly across New Mexico, of course, severe winter storms. Now, most of us around our house, we have a plan. We know, hey, there's some snow. It's not that big a deal. What if you're out and you get stuck in your vehicle during a severe winter storm? Some of the things you need to think about is, first of all, turn on your hazard lights so people can see you and know that you're there. You may want to hang a bright red flag from the window or antenna. There's a great thing to put in that emergency kit that you're putting together to go in your vehicle. Stay in your vehicle. Sometimes if other people can't see you, that's a way that we see a lot of tragedies. Somebody gets run over because they're on the side of the road and people can't see that they're there. Run the engine and heater about 10 minutes every hour to kind of keep it warm, to keep your blood flowing, keep you going, but don't just let it sit there and run. Exercise to maintain your body heat. Do some stretches in your seat. Try to get things pumping and keep it going so that your body stays warm. Don't waste the battery power, so don't plug in your phone to play a game or try to run extra things off of the battery when the car's not going. That's important. Make sure your lights, the hazard lights are going, but your other lights are out. And then, of course, at night, you want to turn on your inside lights so that when the rescuers come to get you, they can see you and know that you're in there. Okay, so some things to definitely think about in dealing with that situation. Okay, and then what about flooding? We have severe drought, then we have flooding. It's hard to be prepared in some of these situations. Most of us know we don't really live in a floodplain, so we don't think a lot about flooding. But what can you do to be prepared when there is flooding? Some of the things you need to know to keep yourself safe in that situation. Do not walk through moving water. Okay, that's important to know. A moving water, 6 inches of water can make you lose your footing. Just 6 inches. So be very careful. Sometimes you can't even see how deep that water goes and how it might pull you down. And we don't want anyone to get pulled down into the water. Don't drive into a flooded area in your vehicle. That's going to be important. And then if you have to evacuate and you have time, make sure that you get those important items to an upper floor or a higher level or up off of your floor or ground level so that if the water should get into the house, you don't lose all of your stuff. And then turn off your utilities. Again, when water comes through and pushes things around, if there's sparks, it could trigger a fire. So then you have a flood and a fire. And that's not something that we want to do. Okay, so along with that, that's the next thing, is wildfires. We do hear this a lot around our state. Fires come up. Sometimes they're close to home, sometimes they're not. But it's important to be prepared in the event that there is a fire. So when we talk about wildfires, what are some of the things we need to know? Again, if time permits, sometimes it's closer and you have to get out quicker, but if time permits, you want to shut off the gas at the meter. Okay, that's going to be very important because gas is highly flammable, so we want to make sure we cover that. Turn off your propane tanks. Again, something highly flammable that you want to keep protected. Connect your garden hoses to the outside hose bibs. Wet and remove shrubs within that 15 feet of your residence. Again, that's just kind of making that fire line. You want to kind of break things off. Gather your file tools together. Back your car in so that you're easy to get out and get away if you need to. Make sure that the keys are there, accessible, and that it's unlocked so that if you had to run out and jump in the vehicle and go, you would be able to do that. Open your fireplace stamper and then close your windows, vents, doors, blinds. If you have heavy drapes, that's more of a barrier to the smoke and the ash coming into your home. So that's something that's a good tip for you. Even if you're not close to the fire where you have an actual fire threat, your air quality and the threat of that smoke and ash and breathing that in can still be an issue. Okay, so finally, the other thing that we know we can count on at some point happening around the state for us are lightning and thunderstorms. Okay, this one looks really pretty. I still don't know that I would want to be out in it. So it's important to remember some very basic things when we talk about thunder and lightning. This is where our kiddos all get very upset because there's lightning and they all have to get out of the pool. Basic safety when we talk about lightning and thunderstorms. Okay, it's completely unpredictable. We know some things attract it. We know there are some things that are more likely to be struck, but in the end, we can never guarantee what lightning's going to do. And the skies can be perfectly blue and clear, and there's lightning. So it's important to be aware of that and think about that. So get inside of a building or a hardtop automobile if at all possible. Avoid showering or bathing. It's just better to not be in standing water. Unplug your appliances. Again, power surges, things that can come through those electrical lines. It's a good idea to have things unplugged. If you're in an open place, you want to look for a ravine or a valley to get down as low as you possibly can. If you're in a forest, you want shelter in a low area with a thick growth of trees around you so that those trees will catch the lightning as opposed to you. And then you want to make yourself as small a target as possible. If lightning's going to hit, you want to be the least likely thing that it's going to hit. And then place your hands over your ears because it's probably going to get really loud if lightning and thunder are that close to you. So it's important to be aware of what disasters can come. Again, we don't want to scare kids. We don't want you to be afraid of everything that's happening. And if you're prepared, if you're aware of what safety precautions to take, you don't have to be afraid. You can keep you and your family safe. So remember, get your first aid kit together, have your 72-hour supply kit together, be thinking about how and what you're going to plan, put it in that in case of emergency notebook so that you have all the information you need, and then consider the disasters in your area and how you can be better prepared. Again, I'm Mindy Turner with the Cooperative Extension Service in Curry County. Be prepared, be safe. Please let us know if you would like any of these resources sent to you. We'd be glad to help. Have a good day.